You're watching Diecast Breakdown with Chuck Ellis, David Johns, and Mark McHotwheel. So sit back, strap in, and hang on. The breakdown starts now.
Well, hey there, folks. Chuck here, and welcome to Diecast Breakdown. We are churning through 2025, and we are so glad that you're along with us for the ride. A lot of big stuff coming up this year, but before we get too far into the new year, I want to thank the people that have gotten us this far. We've done this almost 3 years now. February marks pretty much the third year of us doing this. We started early 2022. So,
good job.
And we look younger. We look
great.
We are.
I was going to say that.
We are relaxed, moisturized, in our elements.
Very
we are
moisturized.
Thriving. Yeah, we're doing all right. But we are doing all right because of those amazing patrons that make this show go. Again, if you want to join their ranks, you can visit diecastbreakdown.com. Special thanks to our executive producer level patrons, First and 64th Customs, Dane Self, drivendreams.org. Thank you, Mark, Hall of Fame inductee. Or Hall of Fame winner, I should say.
We'll
get to that in a second. Jason, Mr. Big Lou, also a Hall of Fame inductee, a true inductee. Mad Visions, Hall of Fame winner. Mike's Mods and Customs, reviews through another lens. TWYCE Diecast, Hall of Fame winner. And Video Geek Productions. Those are the people that give the most, so they get the most in form of us thanking them verbally every episode. And if you want to, again, help us out, you can visit diecastbreakdown.com. You can buy merch there. You can follow us on all the socials. Not that we post that much, but we're trying to get better at it. Most of the action's happening over on YouTube. We got some stuff going on Instagram as well. But, if you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you being here and on the live feed. And you can also catch us on the audio feed in your favorite podcasting app or wherever podcasts are sold. Well, I'm not doing the show alone, as I frequently am. I am joined by my co-hosts, award-winning, published, accomplished co-hosts, Mr. David Johns of TWYCE Diecast.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Chuck.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Mr. Mark Berenson of drivendreams.org, Hall of Fame winner as well, and owner of a Datsun 510 that Peter Brock once called cool.
He signed my glove box, and whenever I get in the car,
signed your glove box.
I touch it.
That's pretty cool indeed. Thank you so much for
Chuck.
joining me, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck.
I'm excited about today's episode. We've got Contour Toy Cars joining us to talk about
cool
design
channel.
And a very cool channel. I'm sure you've heard of him because he's got way more followers than we do. And we're honored to have him on the show. So, Contour, thanks for joining us on the show today. We're glad to have you.
And there he is.
Hey, thanks so much for chat some toy cars today.
All right. Awesome. So we're going to start right at the beginning. This is where I kind of like to start with our guests. So what is it about tiny cars that made you go, this is it? This is the thing that I want to really throw my enthusiasm behind and collect and create content about.
Yeah, so I'll give you kind of the high level first. I mean, all my life, I've been very passionate about cars and art. And, I've really found a passion for the sort of intersection of art and cars. So whether that is a real 1/1 scale automobile, whether that is an RC car, a slot car, a toy car. Fast forward to 2019, I was working for a museum that showcased the history of building toys. So we're talking Legos, Lincoln Logs, Connects, Rector sets.
Crossfire.
Yeah. And I want to say it was during that time that specifically toys were just obviously really very much on the brain. And I think just kind of organically through that, I started looking up Hot Wheels. I think, obviously I played, like most people, played with them as a kid. Some of my earliest memories are sitting on the floor, just racing them for hours on end, and started looking into them. And, just with the new lens I've had with regard to art and art history, I very much approached the hobby with that lens and just more of a appreciator. I never really got into sort of the engineering, the motors, the working on your car, late nights in the garage with your family. Just all my life, I've been much more of an appreciator, which is kind of where that passion for not only toy cars has come, but then the art history that is associated with it.
Nice. And that's kind of where the name Contour comes from, right?
Exactly. A little contour, even for the logo back there.
Very cool. Very cool. So, what specific types of cars do you gravitate towards the most, being that focused on design?
Yeah. So, I mean, I really love just how automotive design changes throughout the decades. And I think a byproduct of that then is how the toy car manufacturers kind of take certain liberties. If it's maybe a Hot Wheels fantasy casting, that's obviously going to have a different approach than an automobile that's already in 1/1 scale, and we're shrinking it down to 1/64. So to answer your question, Chuck, I think a lot of it is just, I like kind of that quirky oddball stuff. I really like to kind of get into the heads of the designers, think through what is their process, what creative liberties. The PT Cruiser.
Yeah, that's quirky.
It's quirky at its finest.
It is quirky
for sure.
You give it that.
So yeah, I really admire just the different takes that the designers have. Whether it is just shrinking down a 1/1 scale down to 1/64, or if it's as we'll get into, making a walkie-talkie on wheels from the Matchbox Hero City series. There's a very large spectrum, and I get excited to learn about that entire spectrum.
All right. Well, we're gonna start. You've given us 5 categories of cars that you want to talk about, and there's some very interesting ones. I want to start. I'm going to try and take these in a little different order than were sent to me, because I'm very curious about this. I want to dive right in.
Sure.
All right. Hero City. Hero City is a very interesting time in Matchbox.
You either hate them or you hate them.
Yeah, we got a hippo car here. We got a tractor wearing a hat. We got a car with a waffle iron on it. Is that a car that's supposed to be a TV or a phone or a radio?
It's
a walkie-talkie.
No, that's the walkie-talkie. Yeah,
it's a walkie-talkie.
Tractor with a hat on.
Yeah. Tractors are famous for their hats.
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's dive in here. Let's crack this walnut. What the heck is going on with Hero City?
Yeah, so just a little bit of backstory for anybody who doesn't know Hero City. Let me go one step further. So Matchbox from the very beginning was always focused on realism, collectability, and affordability. So they wanted to make their models relatively cheaper than their competitors at the time. This was all the way back in 1953. They wanted to have that collectible component. They had their 1 through 75 range where they would have 75 models, cap it off there. Then any new model that they introduced would replace an old number, and that older number would be retired. And they also wanted to focus on realism. As we know Matchbox today in the contemporary era, we're in 2025, obviously, that has very much still been their thing. Well, in 2004, I can't say who in the boardroom was making these decisions. But in that sort of early 2000 era, specifically Hero City was around 2004, 2005. Matchbox had the interesting and thought-provoking idea to go as far away from their brand identity that they have ever done decades leading up to this moment, which is a huge deal for a brand. I mean, When you think about branding and, we talk about something as simple as Nike or Coca-Cola, they have that specific look and feel and tone of voice and everything. And they'll always kind of explore different options, but I would almost argue Hero City is the furthest possible exploration.
I would not argue that point.
That you could ever do with what your roots are as a brand. So with that said, obviously this line was pretty poorly received, as you can imagine, again, in an era of a lot of collectors moving to more premium brands like Mini GT, Tarmac Works, Inno64. There's certainly that modern day craving of realism and attention to detail. And so me, again, kind of being into more of that quirky oddball stuff, I'm just fascinated by the historical side of it of how the heck did this company think this was a smart move to do a full 180 to an entirely different line. I have a Lock Boxer here. It's a dog armored truck. Just the craziest colorways, kooky designs. They were obviously, trying to target the more of the kid demographic, as toy cars since the beginning of time have always been marketed towards the kids. But so really just from a historical component, I find it so interesting that a brand went so far away from their core, again, being realism, collectability, and affordability with their models.
I agree. I mean, it definitely felt like, I kind of had gotten out of collecting at that point, but then, and that kind of even drove me further away because I was like, oh, well, I guess Matchbox is just for like little kids now, because everything was all, these trucks that look like hippopotamuses or dogs or whatever, and then big the big action play sets, and the stuff that was definitely not geared toward the collector at all. There were still some realistic cars. There were still licensed vehicles coming out, a few, but not that many. And it was, a very interesting rebranding. And I think that's, maybe it was Mattel going, okay, well, Hot Wheels is going to be geared more towards like the older kids, and the Matchbox will be geared more towards the 3 to 5 year olds, 3 to 6 year olds. I don't know, somebody with an MBA and some wild ideas in their head came into the boardroom and said, I think I know how this is done, and I understand segmentation and audience demographics and psychographics and and they definitely misstepped on that one, and it's interesting.
Can't win them all.
And it did it for years too, and it took them a long time to come back to what we know Matchbox now, which is very few fantasy castings.
Maybe the person that pitched it was related to one of the higher ups, or something. I don't know.
Somebody's nephew.
I know whoever it was said, "Hear me out." Like that's how it started. It was, "Hear me out, guys," and everyone was like,
"It's a garbage truck that looks like a pig."
You have to step over the line. You got to step over the line to know where it is, and they clearly
there it is. That's the line. Oh.
There it was. There it went.
So then, what's interesting then is if you can recall, the sort of next year opens up what some collectors will argue is one of the golden ages of Matchbox, running from 2006 to 2011, where again they flipped right back to their roots. They obviously did that exploration of okay, we tried this. Actually, walkie-talkies on wheels is not the right move. Let's switch back to realism. And then 2006 and 2011 was an incredible year of realism, and just so many incredible castings came from that era. And you can almost argue the Hero City preceding that made it all the much better.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That's like beating your head with a board. It feels so much better when it stops. So what happened in 2012? Why did that era end in 2012? Why didn't it keep going?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the 2010, so now kind of 2012 to 2019, I think they again got a little bit into that exploration mindset. They were a little all over the place. They have just a lot of, not so much, dogs on wheels, but just like weird vehicles, kind of very unique. I have, I think, one up here. It's orange, MBX Coupe, it's called. Just kind of wild, original stuff, but all over the place. And so that's 2012 to 2018, 2019. And then I'd say 2019, which is right when I started my adult collecting journey. That's when I started again, just going through that more realism. Audi TT Mark III, my favorite car, came out during that time. Again, just a lot of realism. So as you can see, the brands are obviously doing different ebbs and flows of what they deem as who they want to market to, what their core demographic is. And like many companies, you try, you fail, you succeed, and everything in between.
All right. Well, look at you setting us up so well for the next slide. Great transition to
Audi TT.
Audi TT. So tell us why this is your favorite casting, or at least the casting it seems you talk about the most.
Definitely, yeah. So, I mean, I guess I'll start with I kind of alluded to this at the beginning of the stream here, but when I was growing up, I didn't really grow up in a car family. So again, I didn't have, my dad thought cars were interesting, and we obviously all in America at least very much rely on cars. But I didn't grow up, going to car shows or late nights in the garage trying to, weld something or work on a specific part on your car. That just wasn't really my upbringing. And so what I really had to go off of was just looking out the window and looking at cars. When my parents would drive me places, to school, to the mall, if it was on the weekend, I just was enamored by all the different designs, the different silhouettes of these cars. And what really pulled me in was sort of that late 90s, early 2000s styling, where we see kind of the front ends and the rear ends getting a little bit more rounded. You can juxtapose that to your kind of iconic 80s cars like the Audi Quattro, very boxy, very angular. You had the Countach coming out in late 70s, wedge shapes as well. So, but, again, during my upbringing in the early 2000s, that sort of rounded shape is just what I became enamored with. So my top two favorite cars my entire life have been the Nissan 350Z, again, very like rounded rear end. Yep.
Yeah.
And Mitsubishi Eclipse is another good example of that era. And then Audi TT has just been, I'm obsessed with this car. I just think it looks perfect. It was futuristic for its time. It won design awards. And again, it's just cool to see how automotive history, in addition to toy car history, changes over time. I like to kind of think, post-war, post-World War II, there was a lot of optimism. They used chrome. There was the jet age. They were inspired by space. There were tail fins and afterburner kind of aesthetics.
Saab and airplanes and
exactly,
Supra and airplanes. And
you get into the 60s and 70s, a lot more muscle car, sort of low slung, wide stances. 80s is boxy. Then 90s into early 2000s, you get more of that rounded shape.
Okay, time out. Contour, I want to know, and this is a selfish question. You talk about You talk about rounded cars being, in affectionate tones. 1993 Saturn SL. First thought. Just from a design standpoint.
So I actually drove a Saturn. It was one of my first cars I ever drove.
I knew it. I could feel it right here.
And then what did you drive the following week after it fell apart underneath you?
So I switched to a 2010 Honda Civic. So still
there you go.
Pretty rounded on that particular generation. But Saturn. I mean, Saturn had a very.
Which model was it? The Saturn.
Something, I think S series or something. Are you talking about the Honda Civic?
No, the Saturn. Like, I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
I don't want to continue this very long, but I'm just curious.
This is the most Saturn talk we've had in quite a while. So
I once had the option to buy either a '98 Honda Accord or a 2001 Saturn. I can't remember which one it was, but it was the 4-door. No, it was the car, and the Honda was $1,000 more, and I went with the Honda. And then
good choice.
Even though my parents were like, well, but the Saturn is really, really cheap. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, it's being sold by our friends and they maintained it really well. And I was like, okay, but I'm going to buy the one from my mechanic instead. And a week after we bought it, they were like, yeah, they were driving the Saturn and the engine blew up.
Oh no.
Dodged
a bullet there.
That's odd.
Yep. So
anomaly.
That's never happened before.
Yeah. What is
all right? But we digress. Contour.
Oh yeah. All right. Now that David's fully derailed us into Saturn talk.
I mean, all right. Kind of walked me right into it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's see. So let's talk about some cars that you can't walk into because they don't exist, or do they? The NFT series from Hot Wheels.
They exist.
All right, Contour. Contour, what's going on with the NFT series?
So I feel like they're getting a little bit of a bad reputation. I totally get, as diehard collectors, we want that tactile experience. We want something tangible. We want to be able to stick something up on our displays. NFTs really took off around 2021. I don't know if any of you can recall, but Beeple sold an NFT that went over like, I think $80 million or something crazy like that. And that kind of really opened the floodgates in terms of this just new way of collecting. So I'm not here to convince you to start collecting NFT, but I did just want to kind of go over a brief explanation of what NFT really is. Because I think there's also just not a huge education on the matter. Again, whether or not you actually want to collect it, that's up to you. They are quite rare pieces, the actual physical redeemables. But so what I like to say is not feeling them. Yeah. What I like to say is first, we need to understand what fungible means. And so let me backtrack. NFT stands for non-fungible token. Within specific transactions, it's either fungible or non-fungible. So let's first understand what fungible is. Fungible basically means, I'll do two different examples, one more toy car related and one just cash pretty much. So fungible would be if I hand David a $20 bill and he gives me a $20 bill or 2 10s or 4 $5 bills. They're of equal value. It's an equal transaction. The same way if I give Mark a Tesla Cybertruck mainline, and he gave me the same one back, but it's in a different packaging, that would still be fungible. It's an equal transaction. Well, NFT or non-fungible is when the two items are non-fungible or they do not equal the same value. So a good example would be if I made a custom and tried to trade it with Chuck with his custom. Well, Chuck's custom, it's hard to put a value on it because it's his experience. It's the materials he used. It's the overall art direction that he went with. Yeah. Same with my custom.
He cut himself. He cried when he wrote it.
He did blood, sweat, and tears. Exactly.
Yeah.
I did once put myself in a hospital with one. But
and so the same would go for my custom. I don't do customs. I'm very much a appreciator, as I said earlier in the call. But you can't put a value on that. Therefore, it's not an equal trade or transaction, essentially. So NFTs in the Hot Wheels space, each Hot Wheel NFT is one of a kind, and the ownership can be tracked on the blockchain. I will not go into further details with that because it gets very complex, but essentially what that means is every single Hot Wheels NFT is one of a kind. It can't be easily interchangeable because it's not of equal value to other items. It's one of a kind and has unique ownership. What that also means is there can't really be any plagiarism because everything is stored on the blockchain. So think of if somebody stole a Picasso painting and tried to sell it, you can track all of that in the blockchain. So Hot Wheels NFTs, while the actual virtual ones, who knows what's going to happen. It could maybe be the very thing that Hot Wheel collectors are obsessed with in 20 years. It could die a very slow death. It's too early to tell. But I would say just the most fascinating part of it is just the fact that it is that one of a kind. It is quite rare and obviously very hard to obtain the physical redeemables. So I do have two examples here. This one is Aristo Rat from Series 2, a little over 1,200 made, so pretty limited. And then I have this one.
Looks good.
Almost looks like a jewelry, this one, a Lincoln Continental with Spectre Flame root beer.
Love Continentals.
Yeah. Shout out to birth year 1968. So
just had a heck of an RLC Continental.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The opening doors. It looks amazing.
Yeah. I love that thing.
Doors.
Yeah, that thing is gorgeous. So, all right. Well, so one thing I don't get. So like there's the NFT. So you get the car, you get a physical car, but there's like a digital trading card that comes with it. Kind of thing.
The actual redeemable, like the physical car, it doesn't really show the ownership and it's not really correlated to the actual NFT. It's just the byproduct of essentially scoring a virtual version of it through Mattel Creations.
Gotcha. Okay.
Cool. So you're getting more than the car.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's more than meets the eye.
Because I think, I'm not 100% on all this, but I know there's a lot of collectors that think the Hot Wheels NFT is literally the car that you get in the blister.
Yeah, so that's just the redeemable. The actual NFT is, again, stored in the blockchain, which is just a fancy sort of virtual storage solution is the best way I can describe it. And those are the actual non-fungible tokens. They are one of a kind. They are not easily interchangeable. And receiving the redeemable physical cars is just a byproduct of owning those NFTs.
Okay, real quick. Gotcha. Why in the world do we have Hot Wheels doing NFTs?
Hot Wheels since 2020 has been going through quite a phase of trying to enter into the contemporary art world through the collaboration with Gucci that they did, through the collaboration with Daniel Arsham that they did. They're very much trying to transcend and progress past just being a toy car brand. I think the last half of this decade, especially, we're going to see a bunch more collaborations with contemporary artists, maybe a graffiti artist down the road, maybe another sculptor.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think of the Mischief car collab?
I think it was great. I mean, that's the thing with these different brands, and we're actually going to get to another example with the Blazin Turbos I sent you guys. But that brings up a really good point of just when two brands are able to collaborate with one another, that just opens up so much opportunity to blend these unique styles. And in this case, Hot Wheels with their just wild creativeness that they're very much known for. They always inject personality into their models. They are now sort of molding that with Mischief's style and brand identity and tone of voice. So I think it was a great collaboration.
Yeah, that was a really polarizing one.
Look out for the Hot Wheels Banksy.
Yeah, you won't know where it is.
No, it'll like disappear.
Awesome.
It'll just like
it'll shred itself. Yeah,
taped on a wall.
Yeah, it just shows up in Target one day. That'd be cool.
All right. Well, you've already hinted at it, so let's jump right into these ones, which I hadn't even heard of. I don't know how I missed these, but I mean,
I've never heard of them.
Yeah,
they're from the future.
What the heck is a Blazin Turbo?
From the future.
So, well, first off, shout out to Level M Diecast. He does a lot of Matchbox videos on YouTube. I purchased the blue one, or actually traded it with him at the Matchbox gathering in Albuquerque last year. I had never heard of it like you, Chuck, as well. But again, I like that sort of oddball, quirky, you don't see this every day type of stuff. And that blue car was in his in one of his at one of his tables. And so I saw that one, realized there's an entire 4-car set, and of course needed to complete the set as us crazy collectors like to do. But kind of just piggybacking of what we were initially talking about, the Blazin Turbos is just another great example of different brands, and in this case, an artist doing a collaboration to mold those different styles together. So Blazin Turbos, which I do have one in the original packaging I was going to show. Very 80s packaging as well. The kind of grid up here.
Okay.
There it is in the packaging.
Matchbox.
Look at that.
What year was it? I mean, I'm sure you're going to tell us, but what year?
In the 80s, 85, 86, I think.
Yeah, okay. I kind of like those things. They're kind of cool.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun. So, but so this collaboration was between Matchbox, who at the time was owned by Universal, which was a Chinese-based company. They partnered with Takara. As some of you know, Takara produces Tomica, a Japanese brand, and they collaborated with a German designer named Kolani. So let me just summarize everything I just said. These 4 cars are the collaboration of a Japanese brand with a British brand, but currently owned by a Chinese company with a German designer. So it's crazy to me to see 3 different nationalities come together and make something as cool and quirky and awesome looking as that.
Those are pretty sweet. Are those things? What's the as you know? I say weighty. David says heft. Like what's the weight or heft?
They're light. Definitely not a whole lot of heft.
That's what I figured.
Probably if not the same weight as like a plastic on plastic Hot Wheel, probably even a little bit less weight than a plastic on plastic Hot Wheel.
So they're essentially they'll float if you don't hold them down.
Yeah, pretty much.
The ground. Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
Nice. Yeah, those actually they remind me. I saw one of your videos recently, one of your posts. You got some really interesting ones from, I think it was from Takara. These little tuned vehicles.
Third row.
Yeah. So those are interesting. Those are something we'll have to talk about on a later episode.
Were they the Choro Q? Is that
Choro Q? Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's a more modern version, Tiny Q. That I don't really know what the deal is with that company. They're not really prolific. I've seen them maybe release like 2 models a year in the last few years. But Choro Q was kind of really popping in the 80s to like early 2000s. And I particularly really like the wheels, the really shiny wheels, beautiful paint on there as well, similar to Shout out to Big Lou with the cartoon cars coming out. Kind of has a similar vibe to that. So yeah, just fun tune style, but still really tasteful as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. All right, we got one more, and this one is one that we all know and we all love, some more than others. But let's talk. Superfast.
Who doesn't like a Superfast? I have the one on the right, I believe. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's toasted. It's been ran through the track.
It sure has.
Sure.
Using a
5-year-old.
It was a very popular one.
There's supposed to be a motor behind the driver there. It's definitely missing.
No, mine's way worse than that. Yours is pristine compared to mine.
You can actually see what color it is. Yeah.
So rough.
So Superfast has a really interesting history, but I won't step all over that. I'll let you lay that one out.
Yes, I mean, Superfast was the response to what some would say is the very year that turned the entire toy industry on its head, or toy car industry on its head, which would be the release of the Sweet 16 Hot Wheels from 1968. Hot Wheels engineered their cars to have low friction wheels with gorgeous, shiny Spectraflame paint. And there was just nothing else like it on the market. Several decades before the 1960s, brands such as Matchbox, Dinky, Corgi, again, they really focused more on that realism. Sort of playability wasn't really top of mind for them. They wanted something that was accurately representing a car, and ultimately just looked really great on a display case, or just kind of roll it around a little bit. But Hot Wheels comes out with these low friction wheels. Now, instead of rolling this much, it can roll across my entire desk, and the toy car industry is changed forever. So much so that we then introduced Superfast out of Matchbox, and Matchbox literally needed to change how they engineer their cars because of this revolutionary idea that Hot Wheels did. And like we were saying earlier with Hero City, this was again kind of like that another first time that Matchbox said, hey, we need to pivot or we're going to go bankrupt. And actually, sure enough, by 1982, Lesney, who was their first owner, did indeed go bankrupt. So it's just crazy how Hot Wheels kind of overnight or within the span of a year just entirely turns the toy car industry on its head. And now all these other brands are needing to play catch up and start producing the super fast models. And they also did get a little bit more quirky, as you can see with this Team Matchbox. It obviously resembles an F1 car, but a little bit more liberties, not as, true, accurate realism that they had been known for over a decade at this point. I also have a regular wheels era that I wanted to show. It's in the original Matchbox packaging. So this was the wheel that they had before Hot Wheels had to essentially come in and screw everything up. So this is the Iron Fairy crane, and a lot more simple axles, simple wheels on there, as you can see.
Yeah, it's almost like a wooden car, like a little wooden car or something, or just
kind of like stubby tires almost too. And then they had to replace that with these super fast wheels, which obviously became those low friction wheels that that Hot Wheels was just totally crushing it with. So again, just a really unique part of toy car history, and a nod to sometimes brands who are first to market aren't necessarily always the ones that come out on top. They need to have that being agile to be able to keep up with the demand and whatnot.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you gotta stay on your toes.
No, I think that's I hate how old I was when I finally figured out the really crazy thing about the really fast cars is that lip, that little rim on the wheels, because you think about super fast and you always think really wide tires. But what's really hitting the ground is that little tiny ridge. And it's because of that it has low friction, because on a car that's powered, you want wide tires for extra traction. But on a car that's freewheeling, you want as little contact with the ground as possible for lack of friction.
And that, Chuck, is why my son's Pinewood Derby car was slaughtered by all the dads who had been in there years before me.
Because you didn't shave the wheels.
I did not shave it. I didn't put graphite, and I didn't put it at an angle.
Oh, so, dude, no graphite.
I'm not mad at him.
Come on, David.
I'm not mad at him, and I've let it go. Anyhow, let's continue.
Yeah.
You're gonna put a piece of lead in the front.
I've got a solid 10-minute rant about Pinewood Derby, but that's not what the show is called because it's not Pinewood Derby Breakdown. Anyway, it is called Diecast Breakdown. It is also occasionally a game show. All right, David, what are we doing here?
Welcome, everybody. This is Diecast Jeopardy. I'm your host, David Johns. And
please don't sue us, Jeopardy.
Johnny, if you could take the music down
Johnny, please.
All right, gentlemen, because I am a mean guy, I'm going to tell you we have 5 questions. I'm going to pick I'm going to
get rich.
I'm going to pick the values. We're going to go in order. I don't want to overwork Chuck, who, by the way, he has the answers. So
I can't play.
So this is going to be between Mark and Contour. We're going to play some Diecast Jeopardy.
Oh boy.
Contour. Here's what's going to happen. I am going to show a question, and I need you to beat Mark with the name of the correct casting. These are all going to be Hot Wheels castings, all very popular castings. If you need help from the audience, we can have people chime in.
If you need to phone a friend,
you can. So let's start with $100. Gentlemen, here is your clue. This Ira Guilford design from 1969 became the most valuable Hot Wheels ever.
Do we just say the answer?
If you know it, no. Actually, gentlemen, what I need you to buzz in by going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we should have discussed the rules beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. But
I think Contour has buzzed in. Contour, what's your guess? The most valuable Hot Wheels casting ever.
What is Beach Bomb?
Correct. Show
Easy.
it. All right, Mark, I need you to rally. Get it together.
No, I knew the answer to that. I don't know.
You didn't buzz in. You got to buzz in.
Well, you know what?
Faster.
The rules weren't explained to me very well, David.
Yeah, we've all Jeopardy's been running for 40 years,
all right,
gentlemen.
I'm going to go to Bruce's house and go,
Bruce Pascal, of course, the owner, former guest of Diecast Breakdown.
I'm going to race that down a track.
Former guest of award-winning Diecast Breakdown. Thank you very much.
Your 2024 Content Creators of the Year. Okay, $200, gentlemen.
Okay.
I'm going to pose to you the following. This Larry Wood casting might just be his most was that Berenson Bear?
That was Mark.
Yeah.
All right.
Is the Bone Shaker?
I don't know. Is it?
What is the Bone Shaker?
Oh, yeah. Please phrase your answer in the form of a question, gentlemen. Yes, indeed. Another former guest of the show, Larry Wood, and his world famous Bone Shaker. Let's go for $300. Mark has $200. Contour has $300. Gentlemen, this Brendan Vituski casting.
Dang it. You got it.
Contour jumping in. All right. Which is one of the castings off of a vehicle that he actually owns?
What is 55 Chevy Gasser?
That's correct. Pull it up. I think what is the actual name? The Bel Air Gasser or
something like that.
Yeah, Chevy Bel Air Gasser.
There you go.
No, Triassic 5 or whatever.
Yeah, but it's not called that.
Give it to
it's called like the 55 Gasser, like that. The Triassic 5 is the actual car is called that, but the casting itself, I think it's just called 55 Gasser.
Contour is now in the lead with $300. All right, gentlemen, $400 on the line. I know you guys are getting nervous, but
all right, $400.
Clear your head.
All right.
We have got the late Rue Asada designed this quirky casting in 2018, and I'm going to show you the graphic.
We're going to show the car.
You have to name the car because he made a lot of castings.
Yeah, well, let him. He buzzed in, so let him.
Right.
Okay. Well, Contour. By the rule, you have You have buzzed in. What is your answer, sir?
I'm between a couple now, but I'm going to go, what is manga tuner? Yeah.
I am so sorry. Yeah. All right, Mark, you have no pressure. Here's your picture.
Okay.
I hate that I have to scroll around so much to get these.
That's why I said we're doing them in order.
Yeah.
Please name this car in the form of a question.
What is this? City Turbo?
I really wish I could give you credit for that. What is the Honda City Turbo 2?
Yeah. Okay, Turbo 2. Okay, yeah, close enough.
All right. It's all listen, gentlemen, it's all on the line. $500. I don't know how many NFTs you could buy with this, but here is your last.
Possibly none.
Probably none. All right. This June of my casting won Lamley Car of the Year in 2012. Who guessed it? That Mark?
Yeah, I know what I've got a picture in my mind. I'm just like trying to it's a Boko car. Trying to
Bozo
Zuka or whatever car. But I don't know.
I think Contour's all over it. All right, what's your answer,
okay,
Mark?
Go ahead.
No.
That's all I got. I can't name the exact name of it. I know what it is though.
All right, Contour, help me out. Show the car. Contour, what is the name of this casting?
What is Mad Manga?
Got it. There is your winner, ladies and gentlemen, the first ever Diecast Jeopardy champion, Contour Toy Cars. Well done. Well done.
All right.
Hey, Mark, you put up a valiant fight.
Yeah. Hey, I knew most of the answers. I just don't know what to call them. So
yeah,
next time.
Words are hard. I get it.
Words are tough for me.
Well, it was funny because you said the manga tuner, and I was like, "Is that the one that's coming up?" And then I was like, "No, it's the other one." But yeah,
he's always
the convertible one was called the manga tuner, I believe. Was it not?
Well, thank you for indulging my nonsense. I knew. Listen, I knew Contour is going to know these castings.
Oh yeah.
Look, let's just let's take it down a notch, gentlemen. Okay. Hey, I learned a lot today. In your channel, we have got to get people. If you do not currently follow Contour Toy Cars, you have got to go check it on all the platforms. This guy knows castings like nobody's business. It has just been an absolute pleasure to have you here. And we're not done yet, but I'm just saying that because I'm thinking it. So
I appreciate that, David. Thank you.
You got it. You got it, man. So I don't know what we do now, guys.
Well, we thank our guests. We thank the people who have joined us. I am going to give a quick shout out and correction because, I don't know where my head has been lately, but J.A. Goldenberg has been a patron for a while, and I saw him in the chat, and I apologize for not putting you on our list of patrons. We will get that remedied right away.
You got to put him to the top now.
Yeah, I know, right?
And a little bit bigger font, maybe.
Yeah,
something special.
It'll be the J.A. Goldenberg presents Diecast Breakdown. Full title sponsor. But yeah,
I am curious, Contour. Since you talked about the different decades and you kind of described the design elements for that, that kind of are the hallmark of each decade. What's your favorite? What do you think? When were the most beautiful cars made?
Oh, don't do that to me.
I did.
It's done. Damage is done.
Well, it's obviously so subjective, but
yeah.
I'm gonna go. I gotta go when I was growing up, which it's not going to be a solid decade, but I'd say 1995 to 2005, just that era.
Good years. Those are good years.
The Volkswagen new Beetle came out, quite controversial, but again, rounded as I like. Audi TT, Nissan 350Z, Mitsubishi Eclipse concept. Again,
bold choice.
You've got to love the Bugatti. You've got to love that car.
Bugatti's clean. Yeah, I've still never seen one in person. Actually, the full 1/1 scale.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've seen at least one. and an LFA was next to it. They were kind of, the LFA was traveling around the U.S. and I got to see one of those too in person.
Ooh.
And then the police let them rip down the street, and that was, LFA sounded 10 times better than the Bugatti though. Even there's nothing that sounds better than LFA.
For sure.
But yeah, not too many Bugattis out there. You don't see those too often.
Hey, David, we got a question. Have you heard of Racing Wheels Diecast? I'm trying to figure out how old this Ferrari is.
If I'm the David in question, then yes, I have heard of them. Charles, I don't know how to. If you want to email a picture to diecastbreakdown@gmail.com, I will get on it. We'll put the research department to work.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if he was talking to other David, but I don't see other David in here. So
now there is one at Elevation Diecast Racing. Is another.
Oh, there is. Oh, hey, other David. I think they might be talking to each other. And I was
okay.
Oh.
Yeah, no one would ask David Johns a question.
All right. So, hey, listen, I'm going to say that the most beautiful cars were made in the 60s. All of those European roadsters, I'll take any one of them. Like I challenge you to find an ugly one that you wouldn't, pop the top and drive down the road in.
Yeah, 67 is a really good year.
Yeah.
For,
everything.
I
was going to say 67
like
to
Ferraris
69.
to Chevelles to whatever. I mean, it was just like the mid to late 60s. Just...
Yeah. They don't make them like that anymore, which is
upsetting. No, they were death traps, but
exactly. Well, and I think too. I was just gonna say, I think too, everybody is attracted to the cars that they grew up with, like the cars that they wanted to drive but didn't necessarily get to, which is why people like me are obsessed over the very angular cars of the 1980s. When a Chrysler Conquest came out for Auto World, I was just like, so bad, like the weird 80s mix of technology and still being pretty analog, and like that cool area.
Ones you like the boxes of any sorts, like panel vans, and
I don't really own, I own a car from the 60s. I've had a truck from the 70s. I've owned several 80s vehicles, and I loved them, but when it comes to collecting, those are the ones that I'm really drawn to, are the 1980s, 1970s Malaise era type stuff, because those were the cars that I saw growing up as a kid. So I think that's the the subjectivity of it all. But J.A. Goldenberg says, I'll take 64 to 74 American muscle cars, but that's when I got into cars. So exactly, it's the stuff that you grew up with. And and again, 64 to 74 is a very unique time for car design in general. That was really when we kind of entered the modern era. We got rid of generators and replaced them with alternators. We got seatbelts standard. We got, more the configuration of modern vehicles as we know them today. Really kind of, 64 is when it really kind of took that leap out of the tail fins and into the, more modern era of stuff. So I think that's a very interesting time in automotive history. They all have their pros and cons. I think it's really interesting because usually we don't have somebody as young as Contour is, who has the appreciation for these cars of an era where I would kind of was like, well, yeah, they just all kind of looked like jelly beans or something. They all kind of have the
jelly belly cars.
You show me a 350Z and you show me a 240Z, and I'm gonna pick the 240Z every time. But that's just my personal preference. But if you grew up really appreciating that modern-ish, that what is that called, like Aero Futura or something like that, the design style of that time, the late 90s, early 2000s, that everything was very round and there were translucent things and see-through stuff and lots of the Windows XP exactly, very looking to the future, very contemporary type stuff. There was not a lot of nostalgia in that era of design. So which is fine. I think that that kind of comes and goes. I think we're in a very interesting design time now, especially when it comes to trucks. I like trucks now. They all just, like, the front of them look like office buildings to me. They don't.
Same.
They look like they don't have any character anymore. That's my opinion as an old man. You know, they
I agree.
You know,
as an old man.
It just looks like boxes. Like there's just like, okay, like we're just rows of things and then some LEDs that do lines and different stuff. But I
detail these things all the time. I just did like 3 trucks in the last like week, and it's just like, what am I working on right now? Like it was a Ram or I did a Denali truck, and then the other one was like just a regular Silverado, and they all felt the same from the grill to the interior. Like it was just really, it's disheartening. I'd like to see some design come back, like some style where you can go, that's a Dodge, that's a Chevy, that's a Ford. I mean, back then with like especially in the 50s and stuff like that, you could just easily say what that is, because it was so much different than a Dodge than a Ford.
Let's go around. Mark, what is the most beautiful car ever designed?
The most beautiful car ever designed.
I'm gonna ask everybody.
That's a tough question, but I'm gonna probably say like a 67 Ferrari GTO.
Ooh,
that's a solid choice.
I don't know. It's either that or they did the Daytona, but they're similar looking cars. So.
Contour.
What was the question? Just favorite car?
Most beautiful car ever designed, or beautiful.
Yeah, don't pick a PT Cruiser or like a Saturn, because that's what David's gonna pick.
Cabriolet.
I'll give 2 answers. One is kind of cookie cutter. One is more subjective. Audi TT. I think it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Again, subjective, but then more, I guess, not cookie cutter, because I do see some truth in it. But the E-Type, I think, is just
yeah.
That's a good answer too.
It's a work of art, basically.
Well,
we're getting some good answers in the chat. You got
63 split window.
That's a good one, Eddie.
That's Peter Brock design right there.
31 Duesenberg, that's a good looking car. 70 to 73 Trans Am, great choice. Lamborghini Miura, then the Ford GT.
Oh, those are nice.
Caddy Ragtop.
Those are really nice.
Volkswagen Carmen Ghia. Look at Rudy's little profile. He changed it.
Gross.
63 Suburban with a drop down door in the rear. Getting some very interesting choices in the chat. Jay Goldenberg, 70 Plymouth Superbird, 426 Hemi, the
cool
F40.
F40, yeah.
Lamborghini Miura, Porsche 904, or Ferrari Dino.
Yeah, it's a tough question, David. I hate you for asking that.
You're welcome. No.
Yeah. There's so many answers.
I would say if I had to pick just one, I think that the 1967 Toyota 2000 GT is one of the best looking cars ever designed.
I agree. That's another one that I would pick.
I think it's an XKE that they just improved on, and
they ripped people off for sure.
I mean, it's absolutely a ripoff of the E-Type Jag and the Miura, but although I think the Miura came out that year or the year after, but it's very much a Ferrari / Jag ripoff.
Jaguar.
But I don't care. Like, the thing is incredible, and it's got those really wild pop-up headlights and then the built-in driving lights covered with glass. I think that's a really cool design. Which is a very against type pick for me, because usually I would go with something. I expected. Yeah, you were expecting me to go like 1974 Dodge Monaco or something, but I mean, Plymouth did make some really good looking cars. I would say if I had to pick like best looking American muscle car, I think the 68 Dodge Charger is the best looking. As far as the Coke bottle shape, it had it had those really cool little circular taillights instead of the big beam taillights that the 69 and 70 had. That was such an ahead of its time design when it came out. It just looked so good. And the proportions are just incredible on that car. I agree. The Superbird is iconic, but the Superbird if I'm looking at it objectively, like the Superbird and the Daytona both feel like they just tacked on a nose cone and a wing to an already very good design. I get why, because it made it faster. Because the Dodge Charger looked fantastic. It was not a very good race car because they didn't do wind tunnels, they didn't do computer testing, they didn't have all that stuff back then. So what looked really good, like that tunnel back, which is incredible, is actually really bad aerodynamics because it created a vacuum behind the car. So that's why the Charger 500s and the Daytonas, they would knock out the rear glass and put in a fake or a extended back to it, so it had more of a aerodynamic shape. So that's why the Daytonas all have a different back to them than the Dodge Chargers do, back window. But anyway,
those are good picks. I mean, you're all wrong. It of course is the Aston Martin DB5. But since now that you can just move forward in your life with that knowledge. But
That's so weird. I thought you were going to pick Saturn. I was sure.
It's 1B, 1A, 1B.
It's the 1997 Toyota Paseo convertible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Contour, what's coming up on your channels? Anything we can look forward to the rest of 2025? Anything fun that you've got for the fans of your content?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'll just Contour Toy Cars is my handle. And the biggest change for 2025 is I just recently started longer form content. So I sort of started Contour as a primarily short form page, short form channel. But starting January 2025, I started getting into more of long form. So taking you out to Diecast toy shows. I just recorded one yesterday. It's actually up right now. One of the largest diecast toy stores in America. And so, just expect a lot more exploration of these beautiful cars that we are so passionate about. So much history, so many different packaging designs, casting designs, deco designs. And just expect a lot more of that exploration and discovery as I'm going throughout my collecting journey and sharing that with all of you.
All right.
Yeah,
awesome.
we look forward to it. I think everybody loves going along to the conventions and even stores like diecast stores, because otherwise, we'll never know that they exist. Because
100%. Yeah. Shout out to Diecast Dude. I mean, I feel like he's an absolute legend when it comes to taking you out to shows. He goes out to the NAMAC. Just insane to see all the different booths, and just a great way to be exposed to so many great castings.
Yeah, he makes you want to jump on a flight for sure. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
Trip time. Go see.
All right. Well, you can join Contour on his many trips around the world of diecast over at the links that will be in our description, or you can just Google him. That's how I found him. But thank you, Contour, again for being on the show. We're really glad that you gave us the time to stop by, and appreciate you being here. Hopefully you can come back on and share more of your diecast knowledge with us in the future.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, maybe I can get a rematch.
I know, right? Well, this was our first time doing the game show. We did get a text message from a patron, Mr. Big Lou, who loves the idea. Yeah. So maybe we'll keep it going. We need to
maybe
refine
it. I'll take him out. Bring him on.
All right. Let's get next time Big Lou's on, we're gonna have him do a game show. He probably not only knows the stuff, but knows the people personally who did it. So,
good luck.
Oh, and we'll get Contour. We'll have a champions only match. We'll settle it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, thank you, Contour, again, and thank you, watchers, listeners, wherever you are, whoever you are,
lovers,
whenever you are,
Spotify,
wherever you are, for being here. And again, a special shout out to our patrons that make the show go. Again, if you want to join their ranks, visit diecastbreakdown.com. And while you're doing that, you can find a link to drivendreams.org, where we are trying to raise 20,000 cars in 2025 for kids in need around the world. So check that out. Do it. We did a little bumper for it early on in the show, but I'm trying to be better about mentioning it.
Get some cars together.
Yeah. So, and while you're clicking on things, make sure you like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you think what we are doing is worthwhile, please share the video. It helps a lot. That is how we grow our numbers. We're closing in real fast on 6,000 subscribers, which is pretty cool considering where we were at, and also pretty cool that we were able to get a Model Car Hall of Fame win with only less than 6,000 subscribers. What's going on there, guys? You guys are clearly showing up and voting. The like 20 of you that stick around and hang out with us during this thing. Thank you so much for you. The live crew, we love you guys. And you know, if you make it to the end of this video, leave a little comment saying you're part of the Shutdown crew, because we really appreciate those people who stick around. And as always, we want to thank you for coming along with us for the ride. So until next time, stay fresh, cheese bags.